Well, some good news coming out of our neighbors to the south today as Vice President Kamala Harris met with marijuana pardon recipients at a White House reception. And this is happening around the same time as President Biden is leaning into the issue of legalization itself ahead of the upcoming election. Well, hi there, and welcome to another episode of Editor's Notes with me, Cy Williams. In an unprecedented move, and one that our PM Justin Trudeau could take a page from, United States of America Vice President Kamala Harris met with cannabis pardon recipients at the White House today. That's Friday, March 15th, in order to discuss their experiences under the president's clemency proclamations. Now, during this unprecedented meeting, Vice President Kamala Harris stated that the Drug Enforcement Administration, that's the DEA, must reschedule marijuana as quickly as possible, calling it absurd and patently unfair that cannabis is still classified in the same category as heroin. Harris delivered a statement promoting both the administration's clemency actions and its marijuana scheduling directive that led the U.S. Department of Human Services, that's the HHS, to recommend that the DEA reschedule cannabis under the Controlled Substances Act. She went on to say that she could not emphasize enough that they need to get it done as quickly as possible. The Vice President went on to say of the ongoing scheduling review that they need to have a resolution based on their findings and their assessment. The issue is stark, and a stark fact, considering that on the U.S. schedule currently, cannabis is considered as dangerous as heroin. Marijuana being considered as dangerous as heroin is insane. The Vice President went on to say it's absurd, not to mention patently unfair. Nobody should have to go to jail for smoking weed. And what we need to do is recognize that far too many people have been sent to jail for similar marijuana possession. The Vice President went on to say that, noting racial disparities in cannabis enforcement, following her opening remarks, Harris then participated in a closed-door roundtable discussion with 3 pardon recipients, along with Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear and rapper Fat Joe. Okay, well, kudos to you, Kamala, for having the tenacity and the strength to say what needed to be said in a place where people can hear you say it. Now, from your neighbors to the north, that's us, we salute you. Keep doing what you're doing. Cannabis should be legal. Now, closer to home, in this winter wonderful Winnipeg of ours, Winnipeg, Manitoba, cannabis regulators there plan to review the de facto provincial ban on smoking, vaping, and otherwise consuming cannabis in public places early this year. But the analysis was on pause pending direction from the NDP government. Now, in a 14-page departmental briefing, prepared for Wab Kadif's incoming government in October, the Liquor, Gaming, and Cannabis Authority of Manitoba said it received some requests to allow cannabis consumption sites in Manitoba and was preparing to review public cannabis consumption in early 2024. The LGCA has committed to a full, in-depth review of cannabis consumption sites, including industry demand, legal permissibility, and potential regulatory implications. The briefing stated, noting that Ontario and British Columbia are also looking at public cannabis consumption. The LGCA plans to revisit its analysis in early 2024, beginning with a review of the legislative and regulatory framework and then moving forward to stakeholder consultations. The LGCA noted that at briefing the public, consultations in 2021-22 did not indicate either strong support or opposition for cannabis consumption sites in Manitoba. Now, the LGCA states its review had been planned for this year and it had been paused pending direction from the current government. It is also using different language to characterize the public interest and industry demand for cannabis consumption sites. The LGCA's previous consultation did not show strong public support for public consumption spaces, which strikes me as odd. And it showed little demand from the industry. So this was from spokesperson Lisa Hansen. She said this in a statement. Now, since the federal government legalized cannabis in 2018, Manitoba's de facto ban on public cannabis consumption has been criticized on the basis that it's unfair to people who live in public housing and other rental situations that don't allow smoking. The existing legal framework essentially makes it impossible for anyone who doesn't own their own place or live in a place, whether they're renting or own it, where they're allowed to smoke cannabis indoors. And this is from Carl Gowanlock, a Winnipeg lawyer who sits on the board of the not-for-profit Winnipeg Housing Rehabilitation Corporation. Now, he went on to say that most private rental apartments these days do not allow smoking of tobacco or cannabis inside. And under current legislation, it's not allowed in common rooms or apartments. And if a landlord wants to create an outdoor space outside of the property, it has to be 8 meters away from the building. Now, for most apartment buildings, that's really not an option. So what are they left with? Then what are the majority of renters in Manitoba left with? Well, a place where they don't have a place where they can smoke cannabis legally. So for them, it has essentially been criminalized. Man, is it me, or do Manitobans seem to get the short end of the stick every single time when it comes to cannabis? Poor souls can't even grow their four at home. How sad for a province full to teeter with farmers, don't you know? And as a born and bred Manitoban, I sure wish my home province would pull that stick out of its butt and get with the times. You are becoming the Abe Simpson of the provinces. And it's starting to piss off the rest of us provinces and territories, okay? Well, except for Quebec. You know how they get when it comes to cannabis. Okay, that's it for me today. But if you like what we offer here at High Canada Magazine, please make sure you like this video. And as always, subscribing helps us more than you know. That's it for me. Stay high, Canada.